So before we get into this video, I just want to set the record straight and say that I am complicit in the behavior that I'm talking about. Most of your favorite YouTubers are not above trend chasing in order to get favored by the algorithm. In fact, you could argue that I'm doing the same thing right now. You could also argue that there are multiple commentary YouTubers who have done this meta commentary shtick better than me. And any YouTuber who tells you that they're morally above this shit is a liar. With that being said, I think I actually have good opinions this time, so let's get into it. Alright, so now that I have your attention, I would like to talk about the next wave of commentary videos that you're going to see on this website within the next week or so. To give you an incredibly brief rundown, because I'm sure at this point most of you are pretty familiar with the story, there is a massively popular YouTuber named Sssniperwolf who has recently come under fire from the YouTube community. Basically, she gets tens of millions of views making low-effort reaction content, where she throws other people's TikToks on the screen, makes some kind of bare minimum commentary or a face while they play, and often does not give credit to the original creator. This is known as freebooting and is a generally frowned upon practice within the YouTube community. Jax Films, who is a longtime YouTuber on this platform who is very respected, has been bringing more attention to this issue over the last couple months with his parody channel Jax Films, where he basically does Sssniperwolf's gig, makes commentary about her and her unfortunate practices, and most importantly, he gives credit to the creators in the comments, which is something that Sssniperwolf is notorious for not doing. Sssniperwolf decided to literally take this to the streets by doxing Jax Films, showing up outside of his house for her 5 million followers to see. This is objectively very wrong, it's very bad, and most of the frustration and controversy surrounding this story is the fact that YouTube has had a rather delayed and inconsistent response, because in the past YouTube has demonetized creators for breaking terms of service off platform, and people thought that this would also be the case here because Sssniperwolf did something objectively very dangerous. But YouTube was silent on it for a couple of days, and today they just posted a response saying that she's only been temporarily demonetized. And also in that statement they said something about both sides, basically implying that Jack was equally as in the wrong. Which is dumb, right? Sssniperwolf put another creator in harm's way, and in doing so committed what most people agree is a terminable offense. And this is on top of the other behavior she's gotten away with on the platform that people aren't a fan of. So it seems very much like YouTube is protecting her, which makes sense because she has been one of their featured creators in the past. And because her channel gets so many views, YouTube definitely benefits from her being on the platform. Sssniperwolf is what I'd like to call YouTube's perfect villain. But before we get into why, I just want to talk about how we've been here before.
All aboard the toxic gossip train. You're chugging down the tracks of misinformation.
I don't need to recap the situation. You all remember where you were when the ukulele apology dropped. To me, it's still very much the defining internet moment of the entire year. It was the perfect combination of people who already weren't fans of Colleen watching her humiliate herself in front of millions of people, and then the other half of the internet that wasn't as familiar with Colleen getting to use her as a punching bag who, in the eyes of the entire internet, pretty much deserved all of the shit she was getting. Now let me explain why every YouTuber you watch, regardless of whether or not they've ever covered internet drama on their channel before, rush to give their opinion in a commentary style video about the toxic gossip train. The first one is pretty straightforward. It's basically a topic that's perfect engagement bait for the audience that you already have, as well as the audience that might find you if they're searching for a particular topic. When this video dropped, everybody had an opinion about it, and so a creator would post a video, and the comment section would just be flooded with people giving their own opinions, arguing with each other, bringing up different points, and that was helping those videos perform well in the algorithm, both for the audience that was already subscribed to the channels, and for people who were just searching more and more content and commentary to intake about the situation, at least in the short term. And I say this as somebody who also was feeling the pressure around that time to get in on the trend. Today I watched Colleen's apology, and I have a lot of thoughts, and I remember that ukulele video came out at around 4 p.m. Eastern, and I had a video up by 7. Did I say anything groundbreaking or monumental in that video that nobody else on Twitter had already said? No. Am I proud of some creative aspects of it? Sure, I did that little song in the beginning, if you remember, where I basically parodied her whole ukulele shtick, and that was fun for me. I was pretty much one of the first videos about that topic up on the platform because I had worked really fast to turn something around on it, because I knew if I got in on the trend early, it would at least give me a short-term burst of views. And that did happen. Rich Lux was like one of the first comments on it at one point, and it was performing very well audience-wise comparatively to some of my other stuff. But now if you look at it and you look at that video's analytics, it had a short burst when it first started, but then it pretty much fizzled out, and it's a pretty average performing video. It's not like it fundamentally changed my channel or my audience overnight. And not only were the views a decent enough incentive for creators to jump on the bandwagon here, but it was kind of the perfect commentary to talk about because everyone was united against one person. There was not much variance in opinion that you could have because at the time, nobody was defending Colleen. So pretty much all you had to do for a bare minimum Colleen Ballinger commentary video was watch the ukulele apology video and go, hey, isn't that fucking crazy? That's pretty fucking crazy, right? And the Sssniperwolf situation is a similar beast because now everybody is putting their 2 cents in and making videos about the whole saga. Because it's quite literally the most uncontroversial take you can ever have about anything. Sssniperwolf is objectively in the wrong here. On top of that, YouTube is the villain as much as Sssniperwolf is the villain, which is also a safe bet if you're a commentator because unlike a person if you're calling them out, YouTube is rather unlikely to ever respond to whatever it is you say in one of these. And I think sometimes what gets lost in conversations like this is that YouTube is a monopoly. They have no problem playing the big bad guy here. You can make all of the commentary YouTube videos you want. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to change their decision. They're a billion-dollar company. So it becomes this feedback loop of YouTubers screaming into the void that YouTube doesn't treat them fairly. And I know this personally. If you follow me on Twitter, you know my struggles about the fact that everything I upload automatically gets hit for ad suitability, and I have to bother Team YouTube on Twitter to get it fixed all the time. YouTube is more than self-aware that they can do whatever they want in this situation. They clearly have a problem with Jack's films. They're clearly only doing damage control for Sssniperwolf, and they're clearly intent on stoking that level of rage because they keep pushing out these commentary videos about how everybody's pissed at YouTube over the situation. And that's not to say that Sssniperwolf is innocent here. I don't agree with that at all. I've seen that take floating around a little bit, that like Jack's film started this because he was making videos about her in an intense quality that could have technically qualified as harassment. I could see that argument. I personally don't agree with it because he was never really attacking anything about her personal character. He was commenting on her style of video, and in my opinion, that's fair game. Like, I don't know, let's say Jack and Derek went through my list of Drag Race videos and they decided to make a collective call-out post telling me that I have shitty takes about All-Stars. That's what you guys do to me all the time. I'm not gonna say shit about that. And that's also not to say that anyone who is doing any form of commentary about this on their platform has nothing of value to contribute. For example, like Philip DeFranco and H3H3, they've been doing internet news and commentary forever. Am I gonna expect them to just not comment on this situation? Of course not. There's one YouTuber covering this story that actually kind of inserted themselves into the narrative inadvertently because of a conversation they had with YouTube chat support. Sully basically DM'd creator support, which is a feature that we have access to, and said, hey, I'm really mad at this other creator. Hypothetically, would you kick me off of the platform if I went to their house and doxed their address? And YouTube gave them some vague bullshit answer, which in turn riled everybody up because that's a clear change in policy from what their previous stance has been on creators who break rules off platform. I will say though, I feel like that kind of became a bigger deal than it actually was in relation to this whole story, because if you've ever interacted at a base level with the people behind the screen at creator support, it's very clear that they have basically no power. It's not like you're talking to anybody who has actual policy pull directly to YouTube. They basically just quote the handbook back at you. And so, you know, the person that answered him was probably some worker on the other side of the world who didn't know what context the question was being asked. And then so they just quoted some random bullshit and it got taken as gospel. And that's not the best either. And that's not to say that Sully did a bad job in his little experiment there. I think it added a productive element to the conversation, but at the same time, I just want people to understand that it's actually very difficult to get in contact with anybody at YouTube.
And since Leafy's blowing up right now, you see his channel on every related, recommended in every, video side page because of the algorithm of YouTube, and they're promoting this guy, and people are going to click that and be like, oh, this is what's popular on YouTube. It's someone bullying someone with autism.
I think people tend to forget that around 2016, 2017, YouTube was a pretty toxic place to hang around. Drama, commentary, and controversy was what fueled the algorithm for the longest time. Commentary YouTubers didn't look like me, they looked like this. And YouTube was cultivating a very toxic audience as a result that ultimately ended up with them taking a hit with their advertising. One day I'm gonna make a documentary on the adpocalypse. Today's not that day. And YouTube is still reeling from that situation in a lot of ways, to the point where they know that commentary still fuels the site in some regard. They know that their commentary style has shifted due to the adpocalypse. It's less of that edgy reactionary stuff and more level-headed people talking into a camera with diverse and level-headed points of view. And to make that style work and to justify pushing that content into an algorithm, you need villains to talk about who are objectively in the wrong and everybody can morally grandstand against them. And I worry about where that might take us in the future. Because to put it point blank, right now, everybody is being incentivized to make videos about one person. And we're okay with that because we collectively decided that this person deserves it. They did some dumb shit and now they're paying the price. That's how the internet works. And I know this is slightly different context, so it's not exactly a one-to-one comparison, but I just can't help but think back to last winter when the one thing that the algorithm was pushing out to everybody was videos about that show Velma. Now that in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. I critique shows on this channel all the time. I literally just did a video about American Horror Story, for example. But what I worry about is this kind of powerful barrage of negativity centered around one person or one thing, and how that can be manipulated and how it can lead people down rabbit holes who don't know any better, because one day you're consuming an innocent review about Velma, and the next you're consuming content about how there should be no minorities in animated television. I don't think we're at that point in commentary YouTube culture yet. I think in the two big examples we've seen this year, the people that, you know, everyone is making videos about are very much deserving of the critique and criticism being thrown their way. I just worry about a situation where we're all making a video about somebody who doesn't necessarily deserve it, and we're all rushing and jumping to give in our takes on something before we know the whole story, because that can have pretty disastrous consequences. Am I overthinking it? I'm probably overthinking it. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
All aboard the toxic gossip train. You're chugging down the tracks of misinformation, the toxic